because it has a waterproof backing, this whole case. So when your boat flips and your coxswain falls in the water, this will be fine. But you can hear everything the coxswain says. So, and what's great about it too is once you can hear what the coxswain says, and you can see what the coxswain is seeing. So you can see when three seat is skying their blade and missing water, and did the coxswain say anything about it, and how did they steer, and all of that stuff. It's also nice from a high school coach's perspective, because what you can do, and what some coaches have done for us, which has been fantastic, is they have sent us video of the coxswain in practice or in a race, so we could get a great idea of what this coxswain is capable of. Now, we're very lucky that the coxswain in this video, which you cannot actually see, is in the audience today. I will not point her out, but she is coming here next year, and we're very excited about that. But when we saw this video, we knew she was good. She had all the intangibles that you want in a coxswain: smart, outgoing, small, all of these things. But now we can actually see what she can do. I'm not going to play the whole video or embarrass her or call her out, but she's sitting in the back row of this first section here somewhere. So, okay, let me see. What's this? I'll show these later. Okay, this is on right now, and I'm going to let it play, and I'll put the video of what you see here up online on the RowingTalks YouTube page after sometime this week. Okay. Also, too, with the GoPros, because the GoPros are light, you can put them all over the boat. So I'm not going to show a ton of video now about what we've done, but sometimes if you want to just show some, help your kids make some pretty sweet rowing videos, you can lay these things all over the place. Scott Noble, who's outside, handed me this right before I came in and asked me to pitch it. So I don't get anything for this, but this is his GoPro setup. Bolt onto the backstay. GoPro sits up here, so you get a cool shot down of your crew. You can actually put it in a bunch of different angles, and while it might look cool for the athletes, you can actually see. You can see things like timing. I hooked one up. I don't have it up here, but I hooked one up to the to the rigger, to the backstay, and let it go, and all of a sudden I could see the rush in the boat and guys lunging that I hadn't really seen before, which I didn't expect, which was kind of neat. But these things are pretty cheap, and I guarantee that I bet 90% of you guys have a kid on your team that has one of these, because this is the best-selling camera of all time, not just in the last year, but of all time. This is a $1 billion company right now. They were on 60 Minutes a little while ago. There's other ones out there. I think these are the best. Okay. Moving on a little bit, we're going to talk about Coach Hargis. This is where I change things around. Coach Hargis talked about videoing your athletes and giving them feedback immediately, right? So I video Andrew, and Andrew's skying his blade. As I say, well, I really want to show Andrew this video. Well, we're out in the middle of the river. Am I going to hand Andrew my phone in the middle of the river? Andrew's 14-year-old freshman in high school. How many of you thought, is this a good idea? Yeah, probably not a good idea. But this phone, and this is the best video tool that you have as a coach, is your smartphone, not the iPad, because the iPad, imagine holding the tiller and trying to hold a big iPad. Where are you? It's a nightmare, right? Yeah. How many of you have a smartphone? Right, like 2 years ago, if I'd asked that question, it would be like half the room. 3 years ago, if I'd asked that question, it would be like 20% of the room. The entire room said that. The smartphone is your best. You have a video camera in your hand at practice every day. This is a life-proof case. It's a waterproof case. It's a shock-proof case. My phone's not going to break. I've done that a million times. You think to yourself, too, I'm going to hand my kid the phone, and he's going to watch the video on the water. What if he drops it in the river? I've dropped this in the river. I dropped this in the river about 10 feet down, turned to a friend of mine and said, call my phone. He called the phone, and the phone lit up, and we could dive down in the river and pick it up and get it. It's not ideal. If you're on the if I'm coaching like at Thompson's or at Bladensburg or at pretty much anywhere else in the world, except for maybe like St. Catherine's, I don't know that I'm actually getting into the river. All right, well let's step back a minute. What if it floated? GoPro makes what they call a floaty back, which is big enough to fit on the back of this of this getup that I have on my head. I don't have it with me because I didn't even think about it, but once Coach Hargis was talking about videoing your athletes and getting feedback, we were talking outside, and I was like, well, I have a floaty thing for it. It would fit perfectly on the back of your phone. And my phone is lighter than the GoPro. So if it can hold this up, it's going to hold this up. It may not hold up for a long time, but it'll hold up long enough for you to zip your launch back around and scoop it up and get it before it drops down to the bottom of the river, and you don't have to be worried about getting sick as you dive in to pick your phone up. So there are ways to do it. This is a life-proof case. This is a great case, totally waterproof. It has saved me, I don't know how much money on my phone, because it's been in the rain, it's been in, like, I dropped it in the well of the launch where it's all, filled with old coffee and everything else. I got 2 questions, you first.
Well, where do you buy a life-proof case?
Amazon is...
Best Buy?
Amazon, Best Buy, yeah, they're all over, and yeah.
They're running about $75.
It's getting cheaper though, and we'll get back to that in a second, but everything's getting cheaper, yeah.
Life-proof actually has a floating case.
Great.
I use it all the time.
We are buying that.
Thanks, Mike. It's bright orange, you can see it.
Yeah.
I use it all the time. It's also helps print.
Yeah, okay, they're probably outsourcing it from the same place because the GoPro one looks almost exactly the same. So whatever you can do to make your thing float. But I mean, you have the tool in your hand. The other thing you have in your hand that we're going to talk about here is a live video broadcaster. So last year, several of you, at least him, sat on your couches and watched SRAs if you weren't actually there, and you got to watch the races and all of that from the comfort of your own home, because everything's broadcast live online, like right now. Okay? U.S. Rowing's doing a really good job. Willie specifically, who's right here, and Willie's going to help me out with this part of the presentation, right? Okay. About broadcasting stuff out to the world so that we can turn this into some kind of a spectator sport and so everybody can actually see what we're doing. Last year, we found an app that is pretty cool. There are lots of them like this, but we got to manage to broadcast, if I can find it. There it is. We managed to broadcast a race from our river out here.
If you will hold and gently bring it up with your here.
That's Mike. So Mike's the chase, the aligner and the chase ref. I'm driving the launch. I'll turn it down a little bit, but this is our varsity 8, the men's varsity 8 in Villanova. The Villanova varsity 8 is out on the river. This is going out live. I had 20 alums email me afterwards and say they got to watch the races. We did it for the women's 8 as well. They got to watch the races. I just sat in my launch with my phone, just up like this. It's going to dip a little bit as I try to turn the launch around. This is what, April 4th, April 6th? Yeah. So that's me holding the phone like this. So as far as commentary goes, how many of you have parents that volunteer that drive launches during races? How many of you have small dual races where it might just be like you and one of the crew or you and 2 other crews? Maybe U.S. Rowing's involved, maybe not. Like smaller regattas, right? Everybody does that at one point. What if you ask a parent to take out their iPhone or their Galaxy or whatever? Setting this app up is pretty easy, and you just told them, just hold your phone up and point it at the race, and then just tell us what's happening. DeMath is up in front by a length. DeMath is up by 2 lengths. DeMath is moving out, because that's what's going to happen, right? To do this for us, and as you guys, I know there's young programs here. There's programs that have been around for a long time. Everybody's got alums. Everybody's got a community around their program, whether it's the current athletes, the administration at your school, parents, everything else. If you can just hold your phone up and broadcast the race, this is not the prettiest thing ever, but you can kind of tell who's where, right? Like you can tell that these boats are pretty much bow balls across at the moment, right? Anybody disagree? I hope not. It's not pretty, but what Willie and I were talking about last night, where the future of all of this is going, is we can do this now. 3 or 4 years ago, we may have not been able to do it, and I'll show you the app in a second. There's a lot of different things that do this, but it's getting better. The technology of broadcasting races is getting better, and it's getting cheaper too. And I think we're headed in a direction that will allow us to do this a lot more, which I think will help the sport tremendously. I don't know if you want to touch on anything here, but you want a mic? Yeah.
And when we started broadcasting 4 years ago, our goal was to get more rowing on the web. But as John was saying, there's lots of other benefits. You've got alums, you've got parents who can't come to the event. The comments I get after Youth Nationals, where we have 40,000 people watching Youth Nationals, it's wonderful. I mean, it's heartwarming. And so getting more video on the web is going to help the sport. So anything we can do to do that would be great. And as John says, it's getting easier. You can see I've got all these contraptions and all this stuff. You know, we started this 4 years ago. I thought I'd be able to pull something off the shelf and start broadcasting races. Well, I could for 150 grand, but I had, $12. So, what could I do? And so we developed a system, but it is all evolving and it's changing. If you want to go from a 1 camera to a 2 camera, it takes a whole lot more gear. But at this point, for these dual races or whatnot, this is an amazing thing that John has found, and it's pretty straightforward and easy to do. So I encourage you all to do it.
We'll show you. So what it is, what we use, and like I said, there's a bunch, but we found this one called, it's spelled QIK, but it's pronounced Quick. Skype bought these guys a little while ago, so we know it's not gonna go away. It's easy to set up your own account. It's just an email and a password, and that's pretty much it. And then you get your own website. So I'm gonna bring this up to the camera here in a second. But you download the app, and then you just sign in on the app. If I pull up, can I do this? Is this going to work?
Yeah.
Okay. Can you see? Can you see that?
Yep.
Okay. If I pull up, you can see the Quick app. If I hit, and then there's a screen. The screen pops up. There's a red button on the screen. It says record. As soon as I hit that, I'm live. Right before I do that, I can share the link. And this is connected into my Twitter feed. So now that I'm sharing, and I can record Coach Bright. If you want to wave to the crowd, this is going to pop up right here. I'll make it nice and big. But so if I can get in closer, maybe that's a better.
That's a lot better.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's it. So we did live video. You can shut all your stuff down, and everybody just take out their phones, and we can do this whole thing like this. We can save a lot of money next year.
What's the cost associated with that?
This app is free. They will accept your money for like the next level up. Everybody will accept your money, as will I. And that just got posted to Twitter as well. We're friends. It's cool.
And John, this site archives the footage then.
Yeah, everything's archived. You get, you can see there's a limit, but you can. How many do you really need? I've had this app for 2 years. I haven't hit the 20. Now I lost my train of thought entirely. Thanks. Archiving wasn't archiving. It's all right. I've got 3 minutes left. It's okay. I didn't think I was even going to fill this much time. Okay, I don't know. Anybody got any questions about anything? Anybody got any other things to add to this? Because I know this is the kind of thing that gets fun and people start experimenting.
On quick, you have, you're in the middle of the river.
Yeah.
Is this going to be reasonably low lag at 4G? You've got 4G network?
Yeah. Well, you saw that with the signal. I mean, this was, like I said, the feedback we got. The question was, what's the, the question is, what's the reception basically that I'm getting off my phone? Is that fair?
I'm assuming you're on Wi-Fi here. Is that the lag is about?
That was not on Wi-Fi. No, that was all on cellular, and I'm not on Wi-Fi because the college Wi-Fi is not great on getting into my phone. This is all cellular. I'm on the Sprint network, which is really good in Chestertown, pretty much not good anywhere else. But I get great reception on the river for this, and so thank God I have a life proof.
And I'll say this, we have gotten a lot of advantages. I was, as a matter of fact, that race that John showed up. I was in the front. You could see me in the front. And I didn't know John was going to do that. And more than once, John said, "You're live. Watch your mouth." And he wasn't talking about cussing. He was talking about either, calling somebody or saying, "Oh, look at this or that." So there's a little bit of caution there that comes with the technology. And also, I think there could be other disadvantages. But
Yeah, I mean, there's always disadvantages to everything. I mean, 2 years ago when I did this, somebody asked me about the whole privacy issue, because we're talking about a website that you can use to kind of diagram, literally draw lines on a picture of what athletes are doing. We're like, well, now we're putting our athletes up online. Yeah, that's true. I mean, they're already there. So, we have to have the safe online conversation with our kids before we have the other conversation with our kids these days. But, I mean, and he's right. Like that race, we actually lost that race to Villanova. They walked back on us in the last 300 meters. I was not happy. But I'm standing there with this camera, and I shut it off because I did say something that I shouldn't have in disgust. But so there is that factor. That's why I'm saying, like, maybe you give it to a parent. Maybe it's better if you don't do it. Maybe someone else does it.
because we all know we will have coach training. Coach training is a dangerous place. Is time for one more question for John? Okay. Great stuff.